Only 360 bottles of this beer are in existence, making it almost as rare as the ruby encrusted gold salamander pendant that was salvaged off the shipwrecked La Girona off the northern coast of Ireland in Portrush at Longstone, which is Lacada, which is the namesake of this brewery. And the salamander on the emblem logo for this brewery. And this beer, Anarres, is a post-utopian stout. I cannot wait to get into this beer. So up next, Anarres. Hey, welcome back to Views on Brews. I am Brendan, and this is a special episode to say thank you for 250 subscribers to the channel, all the likes, the comments, the views on the videos. It means a lot to me, so thank you so much for doing that. It's even made more special by one of the beer club and one of my viewers sending me this bottle. Porig Martin, thank you so much for this. It's really nice that when someone sends a beer for the channel, he wanted absolutely nothing in return, just to support the channel. Just a really nice gesture, so thanks very much for that. I thought I'd save it for today and crack into it to celebrate 250 subscribers, which for me is a big deal. For many other YouTubers is pocket change, but that's a big deal for me. So let's crack this beer open. It's a co-op brewery, so it's a really interesting. It was a father-son brewery setup, and as they developed their business model, they decided to make this a society, a community. So it's co-founded by those two, but it's co-run by anyone who joins, which is absolutely cool. And I think on the website, if you're interested, you can still become a member of this brewery. So that's pretty cool. There are a couple of co-op run breweries up north, Northern Ireland, but this one is probably the second or third beer that I've had from them. I'm going to get it in the glass. I got my nice Lervig glass because it's a bit of a fancy bottle, so I needed a fancy glass with it. Okay, so the beer's name, Anarres, is really interesting. It's a lovely name for a beer. And the brewers decided to call it that because a book that was written by Ursula Le Guin, who passed away in 2018, we're now 2021. They brewed this because there's a lot of similarity to the story of the brewery as there is in this post-utopian planet. I haven't read the book myself, but I do know it's sort of loosely based on society that where things hadn't worked out quite as planned, but they persisted and evolved and succeeded in the end. And that's, I think, what the brewers are trying to sort of get across, is that's exactly what they've done with their brewery, which I think is a really cool tip of the hat to both the brewery and the author of the book. Share with society, drink now or aged. Well, this beer was bottled on March the 1st, 2018, which is just after Ursula passed away in January of the same year. Yes, I'm literally a couple of days out from the birthday of this. Well, that's pretty coincidental, but that's pretty cool as well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not barrel aged, but it is bottle number 346 of 360, which I really think is cool. Cheers, Porig Martin. Thanks so much for sending me that beer. Well, on the nose of this beer, I mean, we've got a very light head. I can see it's oily, viscous, and thick. Sometimes what those oils can do, if you have a really deep, dark, rich, heavy, sweet sort of a kind of stout, imperial stout, you know, you can get these, you can get a slightly thinner head on the top of it, and you can get a bit of oiliness coming up. Every single bubble is coated in this brown, really shiny, oily texture. Fantastic looking. It's coming across a sepia through the glass. Very, very nice looking beer. and almost creamy looking head, although there's some big bubbles. They're just dissipating. I can't believe this isn't barrel aged. The smell of this isn't necessarily whiskey, but there's a really super heavy, rich tone to the nose of it. Dark fruits, masses of dark fruit, a bit dark fruits. What do we like? Raisins, kind of prunes. Really rich, really kind of dark sugar, brown muscovado, molasses, treacly, all of that stuff. Perhaps a little bit of rich coffee coming in here, but it's also kind of sweet, dark coffee, more sweet, dark chocolate and a bit of coffee supporting it. That's what it feels like on the nose. Anyway, that's enough sniffing it. I'm going to give it a go. Oh my goodness. That is fantastic. And what I really think has happened here is this beer is now, it was bottled in March 2018. You know, this beer is 3 years old already. So what that does for a beer is it allows some of the harsher elements from the malt characteristics of a Russian imperial stout to mellow out, to lose that acidity and allow some of the sweetness to just balance out some of that that harsher edges of roasty malt character. Every mouthful this is a real sharing bottle of beer. You know, it's not a drinker, it's a thinker. You know, I always sort of class beers that this way as thinkers. If they force you to think about every sip you take, you know, I'm instantly, even without even thinking about it, I'm already trying to dismantle some of the flavors in here and just separate them slightly so that I can pull them apart. But what I'm getting is the richest, deepest, darkest raisin element that you can get. It's very long lasting, oily in the palate, but it's smooth. And I think that's happened over the last 3 years, not having tasted this when it first came out. And probably because there were only 360 bottles anyway. A lot of biscuity chocolate and slightly burnt malt, slightly ashen, ever so slightly ashen, but I think it's been restrained from that 3 years that it's been maturing. It's such a deep, decadent flavor, rich chocolate. It's past toffee, it's past caramel. It's really in the dark sugars. It's into that muscovado, molasses, treacle. Is it treacly now? Let me have a think about that. It is definitely treacly and molasses-like on the nose. So huge amounts of melanoidin flavor, chemical compounds coming out there. But it has this really distinct raisin edge to it. So it's almost like if it's almost past raisins. It's almost currants. They're just ever so slightly burnt. When you take anything past the stage of caramel, what happens is the chemical compounds in the sugars, they change and they give you two different things. They give you a fruity element and they give you a burnt element. Well, in this beer, I get a whole lot of that fruity, rich, really, really fruity, rich element, but I also get a nice bit of burnt character to it, and burnt in the really nicest way. It feels like nice and toasty and raisiny, and just there's a fruitiness to it as well. Really, really enjoyable. It's also, and that toastiness to it, a bit of chocolate, a bit of mocha coffee, but not quite coffee, just elements of it, slightly more mocha, I would say. And alongside that, there is the warming aspect of the alcohol, which really takes this beer to a different level, where it elevates all of those rich flavors and brings a warmth in with it. It's 11%, so it is a big beer. But I like the fact that it's not like an 8% version. Well, in actual fact, I think this is a stronger version of Lacada's Utopia stout, which I think is, now I can't remember if I've had that or not, but I think that's 8%. And this is just an amped up version of that beer. And the thing that has struck me, which I couldn't quite put my finger on, so I paused the video there and just had a little think about it, is the alcohol in this beer. It's 11%. The beer is 3 years old. And what that does, beneficially so for this beer, is it smooths out, softens up the edges of the alcohol, stops the alcohol being harsh, which then allows all of those malty flavors, all of those rich tones, dark fruit, sugars, toastiness, vanilla, chocolate and coffee, all of that to sort of almost become part of the alcohol itself. So you get a nice warmth of the alcohol and a coating of the palate, nice sort of chocolatey and coffee and vanilla in the palate, but all very subtle and subdued. And the high notes are those fruity and dark sugars that are going in on top of that. There's no oxidation in this at all. I don't get any sherry. I don't get any cardboard. I don't get any high overly caramel-like notes. I just get that really nice sugary, deep dark caramelized sugary element to this beer that just makes it so rich and sophisticated. It's fantastic. It really is fantastic. This is the perfect example of a sharing bottle. It's 750 mils. It does not need to be drank quickly. You could quite happily have that between 3 or 4 people and just have a glass of it each. I actually think, given that in the vein of this, the spirit of this brewery, which is community and cooperative, and the fact that I was given this, I might pass forward that sort of ethos, and I might pass a little bit of the bottom of this to a friend of mine, Lars Savage, who's always bringing me new beers. Pass a bit of the love forward and really give someone else the opportunity to try this. I feel a little bit selfish drinking it on my own almost, but it's the perfect beer to celebrate 250 subscribers. That is for certain. Just fantastic. You know, there's nothing more else to say about it. The appearance is so inviting, slick, oily, silky smooth texture to it. Beautiful oiliness going on in there as well. Everything has been softened up. All of the edges have been softened up. Of the harshness has been taken off of the alcohol, and it's allowed that fruity element. There's, you know, it's a deep, dark, rich, fruity element from the raisin. I don't know what malts have gone in here, if there's carafa or if there's special B in here, but it does feel like there's some kind of interesting addition to the malt grain to give it that nice fruity texture or fruity flavor. Fantastic beer. Really enjoyed this. Thanks again to Porig Martin for sending me this beer along. Yeah, I think I might share a little bit of the bottom of this, not too much, just a bit of it, to keep the spirit of cooperative, co-owned, co-run, co-drunk brewery. We'll drink a little bit of this together, myself and Lars Savage, and we will share. And I just want to say thank you again to the 250 people that are subscribed. If you'd like to subscribe, please click that button below. It would mean an awful lot to me. And thank you for everyone who's been watching the videos. That's my view on this brew. And cheers, sláinte, and I guess it's on to the next one. Bye-bye.